Play off and on. 2005 probably. Off and then on. Anyway, so I last time I was here, I did a slip casting alteration of slip casting demo. So I did a lot of slip casting for a while. And then I've always wanted to know about nerikomi. I just thought it was so amazing. My history, like I started in art actually doing Ukrainian eggs. If anyone knows what those are, they're super, yeah, you know, Kel. Super detailed batik process. So I'm super into details. And nerikomi is very good for that because you can get super detailed. Who knows what it is, or has anyone worked with it in the past or done anything? Okay, yeah, you have. It's a different way of thinking about clay, I guess, and there's just some different rules than like someone who works on a wheel. I explain better while I'm working, so I'm just going to do a demo and then I'll let you know things as they come up in my head. Rather than I didn't like write out like a speech or anything. But what I'm going to show you is kind of a basic, they're called canes. Has anyone ever done polymer clay? Same idea. Yeah, same idea. So let me grab one of these. I rolled these out a little earlier. One thing that occurs to me is they need time to relax. Hand building too sometimes, but really in nerikomi, you're always combining two different clays. Almost, they might be the same clay body, but they're going to be different because of the coloring that's involved. So it kind of changes things. And so to make sure that they work well together, play well together, you have to let things rest as much as you can. So let me get this a little thinner. Needle tool. It's like, I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna I'm sort of, I apologize in advance. I am in between studios right now, and so I've been like not having a place to work. So all my stuff was kind of all over the place. So I'm gonna do a stripe, which is quite easy really. And it's just piling up clays of two different colors. But from that stripe, you can make all kinds of different and amazing things. Just too wide. So it's going to be as tall as this. That's one color. Also, everything always should just be like damp and covered, because colored clay dries up really fast compared to regular. Oh, this is that comes by porcelain. You can use any clay you want. It's just a lot of experimentation to figure out what works, what colors work. There's some really cool stuff people do with natural clays. That's awesome, but that's too hard for me. But I guess you've already started. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So everyone knows what a checkerboard looks like. And I made these a while back so that it would have time to like rest and like get to know each other. This one. So yeah, isn't that fun?
Yes.
You can make it tonight.
Are you coloring your clay?
I am coloring my clay. So I guess that's one thing we can talk about is how to color clay. Lots of different kinds of ways. Sarah does it one way and she lays out the things and puts the powder and sprays it with water and then mixes together. And I've done that and that works just fine. You can also dry out your clay, smash it until it's powder, measure by weight and then measure a percentage. And that's probably the most predictable way to get the same color over and over again, because like you can weigh out, I want 6% of this color and all the time it will always be that. if it's this clay body at this weight. And then you combine the two, add water, you throw it in a blender or something like that, and then pour it out onto a plaster slab and let it dry out. So that's another way to do it. Those are the two ways that I've done it. I'm sure. So, and that's the main thing I think with colored clay is if you want a consistent result, you have to be really detail oriented. And I am not, so I get what I get.
I'm the same way.
That's
close enough.
I call them additions, I guess, of different additions of work. Once I run out of like this color, I'm just going to start over. The way that I store them is I just cut up old t-shirts and make sure it's pretty dripping wet and wrap it around the clay and then put it in plastic and then put all these plastic bags in like something else because you don't want it to lose moisture. It's not the end of the world if it does, but you know, it's just easier. So this is robin's egg. I'm sorry, this is turquoise green. So I figure I guess we'll do a green.
So you used a mason stain?
Yes, sorry, mason stain. You get them from Armadillo or online, whatever. Before I start, actually, I should probably shout out to Armadillo because they were kind enough to give me a bag of clay for this demo. So yay for them. Go buy and buy stuff from them. But they were very kind. So yeah, I get the mason stain from them and I measure. I do usually do it by weight and liquid and dry out the liquid. I just find it easier. Plus, if you're working with a different clay body.
Sorry, what do you mean you dry out? Which
I pour it out on a plaster slab and let it dry out. However, you can also, I also use a different clay body that has very little actual clay in it. And that one I mix from, just ingredients. And so, so that one already comes dry and it's not so much of a hassle to cut it in a chunk or whatever. So sometimes it is actually easier to make sure on clay in a weird way. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm rolling these out and making sure that they're the same height because we want the stripes to be pretty even. And it's pretty grody looking clay, but you do want to try to keep the stuff as off your clay as much as you can. So if you work with red clay, maybe clean between times because it's these are little tile things I got from Austin Creative Reuse. That's just kind of a convenient size for me. And I'm just going to cut around. Two. Three. So I want the same size because I'm going to be stacking them and I want them to fit horizontally and vertically. And I don't want one stripe to be bigger than the other unless I mean to do that and then it's fine.
So does it help to be softer clay or harder clay when you're doing this?
It ends up just being kind of softer clay. Because you have so much color in it, it sort of softens it up. And I think it's just easier to work with a little bit softer clay. When you make a cane, generally you want to make it and then not work with it for a while. Like one guy said, don't work with it for like a week, but I'm like, that's too long. But I might make one and then the next day work with it. You want it to, it's not so much drying out, it's just figured out where it is. Do you know what I mean? And what's happening in relation to these other colors. And then they get to know each other overnight and the moisture sort of gets even and then it cuts better. It's hard to cut it on the day you make it because you're also adding a lot of moisture as you're building, which I'll show you in a sec. Let me cut 3 of these out. I've been watching too much Instagram. I'm thinking I need like a music in the background.
I was just thinking that same. Is there like
I'm not doing
elevator?
Can we stream something amazing?
All right. So.
It's on Instagram, you don't have to do time lapse and like.
Don't worry. Black slip. You don't have to use this. You could put it together. Here, I'll do it maybe 2 different ways. You could put it together without, and it's a little bit more delicate, I guess. And dreamier, or it can get a little softer, but just do this real quick. And you can see how different they are. Okay, so with one of them, just slather on a bunch of black slip. This
Sure.
isn't like measured. There's no like, percentage that needs to be. It's just till it's the black that you want it to be.
Is that also space?
It's just mason stain, black mason stain.
And no additive to the slip or anything.
No, just water. And it can be pretty thick because in the end, it's really going to be quite a thin line. It doesn't work to put like a really thin piece of clay in between. It ends up being really thicker than you think. So the slip works really, really well to just be a line without being a part of the design.
Okay, you're just giving her inspiration.
Yeah. That's great.
Have you ever tried using commercial underglaze instead of slip for that?
No, you can, I would assume. It's expensive. And I have a bunch of old clay lying around and I'm miserly.
Making slip is fun.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is really, you just throw some stuff and let it soak and then add some black. It's not difficult. The other trick while you're doing this is there always this dance between like controlling moisture. So now that I've added all the slip, I want to dry it off, and I could either wait a long time for it to get dried off, or I can dry it off as much as I can, like this. And it just soaks up some of the extra. And then you stack. So I have the green on the bottom. Stack that one, the white clay. I'm going to stack a green. And then a white. Green. All right. Ooh, you're so popular. Okay. So that's a stripe. We've just made a stripe. You can do all kinds of fun things with this stripe. I'm going to let it rest for a minute while we put this together without the stripe, without the black stripe, black outline. So this one, instead of slip, I'm going to spray it. Usually you want to avoid spraying directly on colored clay because it turns into like a slip or a little slurry, but because we're putting them together, I'm cool with that. So again, just stacking.
You're not really sliding them down, like there's no air in there. It's the slip.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it's like you wouldn't really want air in there, but by the time we're done, it's going to be so worked out.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm going to do stuff to this, but right now I'm just kind of letting them get to know each other. Okay, so even here you can kind of see, but now I'm going to smash them a bit so that they get to know each other. Yes. Okay. So now I'm going to cut them and you can kind of see the difference. just even in a stripe. I have one of these little cutty things. You can get them in Armadillo. This works really, really well. It's guitar wire. You can also, if you're into flying airplanes, like little baby airplanes in the sky, there's some kind of wire they use for that you can spend a lot of money on, or just get guitar wire. So I'll just cut a little bit off. Very nice. But anyway, y'all can imagine how that would look if I did it better. And it makes a big difference. I mean, y'all are welcome to come forward if you want to take a look. Or I hear one, I'll just pass those around.
Oh my gosh, they're so cool.
So now that we've done that, yeah, that's fun. So now that we've done that, let's make
Take a class and learn this?
I've taken several classes. I did online during the pandemic. So yeah, that was nice that a lot of people started offering stuff online. There's a woman named Chris Campbell who is amazing and is very generous with her knowledge, and she has a great website. So everything that I'm doing tonight, you can find on her website.
And there's a Facebook group too.
Yeah, there's a Facebook group. Facebook. So anyway, so she's very good, and there's a guy named Bensley, is his last name, Curtis Bensley, and he is the originator, author, whatever, of the more vitreous clay that I also use for my smaller pieces that sort of you can light goes through them really easily, and so he makes like light fixtures and things like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to get my geometry brain going and make a checkerboard. I tend to get mixed up. It seems like it'd be really simple. So the wire, keeping it really taut, and everything is going to be that width that I rolled it out to earlier. Oh. I don't know if I'm doing this right, y'all. I'm serious. I'll have to just try it and see what happens. Okay, so yes, I did it right. So now I have to make sure I know which side is which. So this is the white clay side, this is the green, and I have to be really clear because I'm going to be stacking them to make the checkerboard. So I have to, like, this side is the white on the left and this side is the green on the left. I know it's too complicated for me too. Okay, so that'll be good. And I'm gonna do this thing again with the slip. I see I messed up. I'm gonna make sure. However, if you mess it up, it's actually pretty cool because then you have this flaw that's gonna like repeat as you do other stuff with it. That could be really cool.
Sort of like a bird chart.
Yeah, you don't want to be too perfect. You don't want to insult God. Is that what that is about? Do you want to look? Here's a air pocket or air bubble in here. You were asking about that, and that's fine. I'm just gonna put slip over it, and it'll be filled in. Oh, cool. And eventually it'll just go away. So. Do y'all want to look at these on the other side? Did y'all get a chance to see them? Okay. And I don't know if you noticed when you were holding them, like the clay is kind of as much softer consistency than you would use like for throwing or hand building. It feels like cream cheesier. Okay, now dry it out.
Did you say it's porcelain?
This is the Cone 5/6 porcelain from Armadillo.
Porcelain's softer anyway, isn't it?
It doesn't have all the grog, it just doesn't have a lot of like strength and body to
So
it.
when you work on it, it's even softer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like slumpier. Okay. Did I do it right? Okay, so this is the green. Green to the left on top of the white to the left. And then this is another white to the left. Green. Green. White. And green. Okay. So y'all, we just made a checkerboard, I think. Cut it open. But I'm just kind of like making sure that they understand like they need to be friends. Slap them around. All right, so this way, cut it open. See. And sometimes this is awkward. I go like this to hold it down.
Whatever works.
Yep. So here's my last minute. Yes, please
Oh
do.
my God,
Checkerboard.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so y'all want to look at it over here? So that's one down. From that same striped loaf or cane, we can also make this is geometry of this. I got it. I'm gonna make it like a chevron. So I cut it like these are just those like razor knife things, you know, the snap off ones, but I just use it as a blade. And I, you know, always end up doing it the wrong way and like injure myself, but don't do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut across the stripes. Okay. They're still like not so friendly, so I kind of keep coming apart on me, but y'all get the idea. So then, okay, so I cut it like that, right? And then I'm gonna just reverse it and do it like that. And again, I'm gonna put slip on here and on this side. But here's where you can do all kinds of crazy stuff because I don't have to just put them both together and have a line. What I can do is grab one of these and mix it together. And it doesn't have to be mixed together totally, just kind of however I want. It can be even or not. And I want it to be very thin. Like I said earlier, that the thick, the clay can look pretty thick even when you think it's like paper thin, it still looks, it can look kind of chunky. So, oops. Too many things already. Oh, and that one other thing that I'm not doing that I need to be doing is you always want to cover it when you're rolling it so you don't do what I just did and you know, get the color everywhere and then it sticks and stuff. So it's just better, you know, if you can to not do what I just did. Cautionary tale. So I'm gonna just put that down and I'm gonna cut around. And I seriously can spend like hours with one like thing that I make, just like, now I'm gonna do this, now I'm gonna do this. And I never make anything all day, but I've had so much fun. And then make sure I'm doing it right. Okay. So now we've got like be a feather or a leaf, or, you know, we can make it into a triangle, all kinds of stuff.
So you can distort it.
Yeah, so you every time you do mess around with it, I'm not careful enough to be able to make like a, you know, a giant teddy bear head that then it's like this big, you know, like some of the Japanese ones you've seen. But yeah, you can make it smaller, like, so what I'm trying to do is make it go farther that way, so that means it has to get smaller. So you just kind of have to squish around with it and, you know, try to ask it to do stuff. If you force it, it really distorts the design, but it takes a little while, and a little messing around, but and it's kind of an awkward shape. Like if it was square, it'd be much easier to work it smaller. Okay, so I'm going to show you now. Let's see. What does it want to be? Y'all can decide. Okay, so it's like a feather or something. And what you can do then, once you have something like this, is you could just build with what you have now and do just nerikomi. So like, why don't I do that now? I want it to be a little thinner than this. So these are like paint sticks or, you know, slats from blinds or whatever. Let's do slats from blinds. Now I am going to put my face on this, so don't freak out. Sometimes it's my nose, sometimes it's my chin. Oh, okay. Ants are nice. So I'm just going to cut slices off of this. And I think it's pretty cool that it changes as I work with it. I'm not that into like perfection, but of course some people are, and that's totally great, but it's not me.
Such a contrast to the hands too.
Yeah, I know, it's
They're
not.
so perfect.
Well, I never thought so. All right, so and now I'm going to go back to, where'd it go? There it is. Maybe I'll do something fun with the checkerboard that's in the same kind of color family. And already it matches because it's the same color, it's just a different pattern. I'm going to try to make it a little smaller. Show you all. Let's see. So it got a little tinier, a lot tinier. And so I'm gonna, let's see. So there's a couple ways to cut it. You can cut it like I've been cutting it. That's how Chris Campbell cuts it, is that way. Curtis Bensley cuts it like this. But it's however you want to cut it, really.
Did you use the razor blade versus the wire?
Just because
Whatever.
I saw it and I picked it up. I think it depends on the razor blade's always going to distort more because there's no weight flat keeping the pattern. So you're always kind of distorting it a little bit, and it depends on the clay. The razor works on this kind of clay. I'm sorry, the
Guitar.
thank you, works on this kind of clay, but the Bensley clay, which is more glass or silica, it just kind of gets stuck in it and it doesn't want to go through because there's just, I don't know why, chemistry or something. All right, let's see. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick them together. And just going to do a little thing. So when you are sticking stuff together, it's important at that point then to cover it. And be really tidy and not, so I'm always chasing after that dream.
I was gonna say, I love using the black clay, but I always have so much issue keeping it off of everything else. So does that become an issue when you're pushing all these together with that?
Oh,
sensitive
yeah,
black
yeah.
clay?
Well, and it's all over your hands and stuff. You have to be really careful when it matters. So what I'm doing now is I'm not rolling back and forth. I'm pushing down so that the pattern doesn't distort as much. So I just put pressure down because I want them to squish together, but I still want it to look kind of like what they started off with. And of course, it doesn't look anything like that, but so you can see like the seams kind of get stuck together. If you're rolling it out though, it just would distort a whole lot. And if that's what you're after, that's awesome. But so yeah, like right now, this looks pretty cruddy because of all the black slip that got everywhere. So you just wipe it off because the design goes all the way through. So I can just keep wiping until I get to, you know, a place that looks nice. So this is split where the seams were, and that's not cool. So I didn't do a good enough job. So I can go back and kind of squish it together a little bit.
Is that probably because you didn't let this block rest when you came?
Yeah. And you know, I'm just manhandling it. And it's not square anymore at all. I mean, it's just, it's not even isosceles, anything. It's just, so what I can do is kind of nudge it together with these paint sticks to try to get it a little less funky looking. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And so when I'm feeling patient, I guess I'll do it that way. If I'm not, I just am like, nope, sorry. Got it. So now I have like, let's say this is like the bottom of whatever I'm doing. And then I have these guys. What should I do with them? You know, I'm going to arrange them maybe around somehow. Maybe I'll put like 4, some pattern like that. Okay. And then cover them again.
So do you overlap them at all, or
What now?
do you overlap them or have gaps between them?
Well, you can, yes, all of that. It's whatever works. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of squash them together and see how big the gaps are. And if they're big, I can fill it in with little pieces of clay, or I can just kind of let them have holes. Or if they're small enough, I can go back over it with some just plain slip, white slip. Go over it and let it dry or blot it. Go over it a couple, 2 or 3 times, and it sort of like seals it together. That is very fussy, and I don't feel like that. So right now, this has a few little issues, but I'm gonna figure out which side I like better. I think it's probably gonna be, yeah, that's
What is the name again that starts with an F, we called it? This,
loaf,
the process,
nerikomi.
nerikomi?
Yeah, that's yes.
Nerikomi.
Yes, it's Nerikomi. There's also neriyagi, which is people do it on the wheel a lot, you know, the agate ware. So it's just, you know, colored clay, it's just a different process. Okay, but I still like the other side better, so I'm gonna flip this back over. And there are some holes, so what I can do is I'm gonna fill it in with some little pieces of white clay, which I have handy right here. You'll have to warn me on time because I can just work forever.
About an hour.
Okay. Well, it'd also be nice if anyone's interested in, trying to mess around, to have some time for that, so. Right, so I'm just putting some little fill-ins. I may or may not, it may or may not work. Let me see. Okay. And again, I'm kind of doing more downward pressure than I am trying to spread it around. I just want the pieces to squish together a little bit. Okay. All right, so now we have this. It's very organic shape. So I'm not that worried about the cracking on the edges. If I was, I would spend more time on it, but I'm not. So the best way to do this is in a form, like a bisque form rather than a mold, because this gets weaker because so much colorant is in it. The clay isn't able to maintain itself as well in the kiln. But I sometimes, don't do that, but we'll do it. So I have these ugly little bisque pieces. I bisque them and then I put kiln wash in them and bake that in the kiln, and so nothing will stick. So let's see. No, like that one. It's not big enough. This one maybe. So the only problem with this is you can't have feet. So you have to be okay with that, unless you build feet into the mold, which is possible too. All right. That's one. So what you do, drying is incredibly important with this. That's the part where it's so frustrating, and you'll put all this work into something and you'll come back and it's cracked. And there's no, you can try to save it, but it's pointless and you just need to start over. So slow drying is key. And it's not slow drying for slow drying sake. It's to even out the moisture between green clay, white clay, and slip. And then the ones that I spray, it's like there's so many different moisture levels on all parts of this that it's all just going to be pulling in all directions. So it'll just, implode. And so it's super important to cover it and let it dry as slowly as possible. Maybe like on day 2, take it out of the plastic to let some of the, moisture out, maybe cover it with some paper. So in case water drops on it, it doesn't ruin your design. But again, I don't care because I don't like that. I'm just cleaning off some of the yucky black that I see as I'm talking to you all. Okay, so that's one. If y'all want to, pass it more closely, you can see some of the flaws, but that's okay. All right, so that's one way to do it. You can also do it called laminating, which is basically get really thin slices of the clay and put it on white clay. For this, it's super important to roll out the slabs ahead of time, because they're gonna, after 20 minutes, they shrink like a kind of an astonishing amount. I did not do this thin enough, so we'll see what happens. I mean, if something's going to happen, it's not going to happen tonight. It's because it's just going to be like a day and they'll just pop apart again. But what I'm going to do is roll this out a little bit, and I don't know what I'm making, y'all. Some sort of tray or something. Okay. So. I'm going to do like a square tray-ish, squarish. So I am tired of this, and I'm going to take out some of the ones that I made previously, just for fun. Let's see. Ooh, this one's fun. Oh, ooh. I love this one. It is so easy to do. And it's crazy cool. It reminds me of Gustav Klimt. I put some of them, you might have seen some of the examples had sort of tiny checkerboard, but yeah, I'll pass it around. Like weird, like squarey polka dot kind of things. It's a little, I just made it yesterday, so it's still a little blurry at this point. Usually it's a lot more defined when you let it hang out. But anyway, I think it's a very cool pattern. And so that's one cool pattern. Then also, I think it's very cool to slice it along and you get this crazy like boring pattern. I know. I forget. Very cool. So what I've done is kind of use them together and I'll cut some very thin slices.
Is that made from the same checkerboard? Or is it?
I'll tell you how to make it.
Sorry.
It's so fun. No, thanks, because I meant to tell you. I'm gonna make this cool cake. So you get an extruder here. I'll do a little demo of this. This is fun. So I have this cookie extruder here, and I get some clay, and then I'm gonna get a darker one so it really shows up. What is that? Turquoise. Okay, here's deep brown. Okay. So you get just chunks, right? And you squish some chunks in the extruder. There's no like way to do it right. You just do it.
And those are different colors.
Yeah, sorry, it's a
Okay.
white clay and a brown clay. But you can do all colors. You can do like 2. This one's 3 colors, which I think looks pretty cool. Yes, it's not as small as those little ones, but this one, it's not as hard on my thumbs, although it feels a little stupid. She just like takes forever. See. Did y'all get to see that if you want it? I'm just gonna assume from now on that if you want to see it, you'll grab it. All right. So now I need to choose what shape I want. And I think I made this one with squares, so it was really easy to just stack them together. So I think I'll just do that again. All right. So get your little square die and put it in there. It's called a die, right? Yeah.
Where did you get this one?
Austin Creative Reuse, I think, something like that. It's called something, Walnut Hollow, and I've seen them online before. I like this one because it's not the thumb one, which is really difficult. Okay, so it feels like such a joke, like it shouldn't work. But it just, runs on the threads.
Wow.
So what's happening is, things are kind of mixing up together as it's extruded. And then it doesn't matter if there's bubbles, you hear it kind of bubbling a little bit, all the air that's in that, or it has wrinkles, or it's broken, or what, it doesn't matter. I do have an extruder that works much more easily and quickly and larger, but I didn't do it. So I'm gonna line them up next to each other and see what I got. You can put them together with slip or not. Let's see. I just want to do a real quick one so y'all can see what it looks like and how cool and easy and fun it is. I think even just like if you're going to do a little accent on the bottom of a pot or something, just like a little square, it'd be cool. So I lined 4 of them up together. And now I'm just gonna stack them. And again, it should be like spraying it with water and being really careful. And of course, you can't really tell until it's out of the kiln, but it's very cool. So just from that little amount of time now, I have a little something in black or dark brown and white that you can cut slices off of, and you can do it, in the checkerboard pattern or a little wood grain. And it's really wet, so it doesn't want to behave very well. But anyway, it's a little tiny. Sorry, you guys. Feel free. So now I'm getting back to my square thing here. Gonna just kind of experiment with, laying some stuff down, see how it looks. I want it to be pretty thin, I guess, because mason stain's expensive, but it's really up to you. So I don't like where that is. I'm gonna move it up, and then I'm gonna do some slices this way. It's just nice to get like some variation that's kind of an instant, oh, that's cool, because they're the same color. So it's always going to look like they belong together, because they do. All right, so I'm going to do like a little ribbon of this one down here. Do you have any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
What products do you end up primarily with? Are you using trays? Like this is a finished piece in the bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, just an organic
Little piece of something or other,
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, ring dishes.
Yeah.
I make sushi trays because here's another cool thing I can show you all that I do. I don't have the sushi tray maker with me, but I get these little plaster things. And so if I want on the bottom, I can make the feet coordinate by just squishing the clay in there. And then you have like a coordinating foot, and you can put that on if you want. Sometimes if I have a little tiny bit, I'll fill the back in with the regular white clay. But anyway, it's just kind of another way to make it all hang together. Okay, so now I got this.
When it's deep glaze, clear glaze over it.
You can, or you don't have to. Depends on if you're gonna, obviously functional work, you want it to be glazed.
So you'll use it clear.
Yeah. I mean, after all that work, the last thing you want to do is accidentally cover it up.
Right.
So yeah, I only do clear, like I can do a matte clear, which I like better, but that's just because I like a matte finish better. And again, lamination, y'all, okay. Forgot the most important thing, they have to stick together, right? The glue is water. Remind me to do something silly. Okay, so It's a little goofy looking, but it's okay. Sometimes they're really fun. I kind of like it when they're off and not perfect and weird things are happening. It's more interesting to look at, I think. But if you do, it's a very difficult question. I don't like glazes. That's all I have to say. I don't have one I like because I feel like they can be very frustrating. I've used the armadillo clear because I figure, you know, if they're clay, you might get close to coordinating with their glazes, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so now I'm going a little bit more, like I'm squishing it a little bit more in and I'm kind of stretching it. Again, if you're very particular about the pattern, you wouldn't want to go out, you just want to go down and just be really careful about that. So then it gets, see, this is what happens when you roll it out, is you get this funky,
Oh,
crazy
yes.
effect, which, you know,
That's glorious.
very cool. If you don't like it,
Love it.
if you don't like it though, because it's, you know, it's so, the pattern goes all the way through, I'm like, I don't like that. I'm gonna wipe it all off and get back down to like a clean design. Sort of,
It's gorgeous.
yeah.
So I suppose if you're making cups and things that give you a stronger base to kind of.
Mhm. Yeah, there's some people who laminate, and then some people who build like cups. Like there's this woman named Ann Mossman out of Australia who does these astonishing, beautiful works. Like I would love to have one, but she's in Australia. She does this. I'll pick it up. We're gonna let this hang out for a minute because I feel like I'm rushing it. Oh yeah, here's my little test tiles that I make. So I put the percentage on. I do the, you know, different like glaze test to see what, like the map on this looks terrible. And then I write like 13%, you know, and I know A is armadillo, 5-6. I write 5-6. So I just kind of know everything. And that's a good way to keep track of. So Ann Mossman, amazing work, beautiful stuff. She does coffee cups and mainly coffee cups. She does a freestyle kind of landscapey looking thing that is just amazing. And she builds huge loaves, just gigantic, and she just squishes. She'll choose like, you know, 4 colors, like 3 kind of that are in the same color family, and then throw in an orange or something as a contrast. And then she cuts really thick slabs and builds coffee cups just from that without any other clay underneath, which is challenging. But she is someone to look up to. She has some really interesting and valuable tips. Okay, I'm looking for my other cutter, which is wider. That would work better. I have so much stuff, y'all. Okay, we'll try with this one. Okay. So this is a la Ann Mossman.
So that's. Her Instagram is just Ann Mossman, and it's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, just stunning.
Mossman.
So she'll cut, you know, chunks off and combine them and make these vessels that are just gorgeous. So you don't even have to be careful, you know, you just squish some clay together, and she puts slip between them to kind of define it, the shapes better. But I mean, just some gorgeous stuff, and you don't even have to be careful. You just are like, oh, that would make a lovely coffee cup, and it, you know, would. So anyway, that's another person that I admire a lot. What is this? So that's 3 people, and Anne has a few videos on YouTube that are very helpful. which talks about her process. Okay, back to this guy, which is looking a little sad. Let's see what we can do. So I'm gonna do a support on this one. Yep. Too small. What am I not doing, y'all? I'm not covering it. Thank you.
You sell your pieces for a high price because of all the
Yes.
labor, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they have to be. And the materials cost, because mason's things are not cheap. And especially if you're doing something that's not laminated, if it's the design all the way through, it can get pretty expensive, especially purples and reds. Okay.
What are your price ranges?
I sell over at Arcade People, and she helps me with pricing a lot. She's very good at it. Minnie, she's amazing. So I'll do and I think it's a little underpriced because I know how much work goes into it, but like a little sushi tray with like a couple little dishes and maybe some like chopstick rests, maybe like 150. And then I'll put gold on sometimes just because people like gold. Okay, so this is kind of funky and not super wild about it, but I'm going to keep going and maybe I'll feel better about it once I do this thing. I'm trying to hurry. There's just like all these things. So funny. Okay. Thanks, Bob.
Do you have any real pieces?
No, I know. I'm between studios right now, and so I everything is packed away. So
I see your work on your
yeah, on
website?
Instagram, it's
Instagram.
Flame Point Art. I think it is. If you can go to the GACA Instagram site, it's linked, but otherwise, yeah, it's Flame Point, because I used to have a beautiful Flame Point cat, and named it after my cat. It's no longer here. All right, so another way to do the lamination is sometimes it's like it's just plain, there's nothing happening, but I don't want to put color on the back. So Chris Campbell puts just texture on it, which is really fun. And just whatever texture you like. So this is like a Japanese, like, I don't know, washcloth or something that I found that just does like a wrinkly kind of texture to make it like, if you have a mistake, it's less, it shows less if everything's kind of wrinkled. You know what I mean? It just kind of looks not like, if you looked at this and there was a little problem, you wouldn't notice it as much as if it was just a blank white, like, oh my God, there's a giant problem there, whatever. Yes, or, whatever. Yeah, it's fine. Yes. So, but the fun thing she does is, and I didn't bring it, I was looking for a pony roller with one of those curved edges because she thins out the edges a lot. I'm going to try to do this real quick just with my hands. So you thin out the edges. And then flip it over and put it in the form. Oh, it's so big now. And then you kind of just roll the edges up. And so it makes this sort of lip on the edge, which finishes it and frames it. It looks pretty cool. And you can do that if you laminate or not or whatever. But anyway, this poor thing. It's just too fast. It's not ready. Anyway, or another cool thing is you have these scraps, right? Well, there's still tons of beautiful color on there. I'm just gonna like rip it and then make it into a handle. Like that. I mean, some people might like it. I think it looks pretty cool. And then it sort of gives people a clue as to what it is, especially if you're doing a tray. They're like, oh, I pick it up. And I'm like, yes. So that's just another little lamination tip and handles. And okay, I'll put it in here so y'all can pass it around and look at the handles, but I think this might turn into just like a little reclaim. Or, whatever. I'm gonna do this thing here and I'm gonna put that there and I'm gonna maybe make it into like a freeform plate thing. There you go. There you go.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Okay.
That's true.
If you see something you want to do to it, do it. That would be fun.
What do you do with your color reclaim?
Well, have to throw it away. Sometimes I make black slip out of it because, I guess the last time I had some, I was moving out of my studio. So I was like, bye, because I didn't want to move dry.
I was just
scraps.
curious because I have always struggled too, but then
Yeah,
Chris
it's-
Long when he
I think-
for us in April said he makes it into his black clay.
Yeah, and it's perfect. And then you roll, pour it out on this and then you have black clay. It's perfect. Yeah. That's the thing I like about this is there's not a lot of wastage. And one of the problems I have with throwing sometimes is I'm like, oh, the clay. This you just kind of keep reducing the clay and like, this is a scrap, but when I mix it up, it all of a sudden becomes a complementary color to this cane. So I'll mix it up and put it with the cane for later. And maybe instead of a white clay, I'll have this clay as a background or whatever. One other cool thing I wanted to show y'all.
You need a circular pattern?
Did I make one or could I? Yes, like a flower. All right, here.
You're doing logs.
Yeah, so this could be circular, I just squish it until it is. You don't want to like roll it like that because it'll twist,
I mean, like a circle.
like a circle on the
Drive a
inside.
circle.
Yeah. So that's super easy. Let me grab some. I'm gonna do a dark on the inside so you can see. Rolling. I don't know how you do that. Mine always get flat.
Light touch.
Oh, good. Foils?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so you can use an extruder, or if you're an expert like Sarah, you can roll it out. Thank you. So yeah, let's build a round one. Why not? What fun.
Do you ever apply your nerikomi to wheels?
I just learned how to throw in the wheel this summer, so I have not done it yet, but it is, people can do it. It will distort the pattern. But like I said, I think it looks cool on the bottom of the throw piece because you don't, nothing changes there. And so it would be really cool.
Oh,
So you have a pattern like that checkerboard on the bottom, and then you put the same thing in the, like laminate it while you're throwing, and then the colors are incorporated. I think that would be very cool. So I haven't, but I know that it's done and people do a lot. And it looks pretty cool. And you can also do like the whole thing a color. You can just put a little chunk and see what happens. It kind of would make a really cool spiral up. Okay, so I want to roll this pretty thin because, like I said before, like you think it's thin and then you roll it together and it's like so chunky. So cut it. I'm gonna just use water since that's dark. So I made this little cane, and you're welcome to come over and if you want to see something closer. I'm kind of making the edge. I cut it, and so instead of straight, I want it to be a little bit like that, so it'll combine better. But that doesn't have to happen. Then just roll it up. I think one of the reasons I like this too is there's like the tessellation possibilities are just amazing. The pattern just kind of keeps happening over and over and over again. You can do so many cool things. Okay.
Keep rolling that in different colors.
Yeah, it's bullseye. Yeah, so you could do bright colors, you could just do, black and white. I think a lot of the Japanese people who do this are just like browns and blacks and whites and grays. So then a lot of like, especially the ones where they're making little teddy bear plates, is they'll make the whole teddy bear cane. They'll reduce it, and their canes are like this big, and they have to spend hours kind of squishing it down. You can't just make it happen. You have to really be asking clay to do what you want it to do, to do what you want it to do, because it'll distort and look awful if you're in a hurry. So you cut off the ends. So yeah, that's just a dot, right? But then, oh my gosh, you just cut it and put it together. And now it's that. But wait a minute, hold on. What if you put a center and now it becomes like a flower, right? Like that. Then, like, I have all this extra here. I'm gonna just keep adding stripes, and you just keep doing stuff. I mean, seriously, it can be like hours later, having made nothing at all, but had so much fun.
How much time are you able to work during?
Yeah, I don't even know how to answer that right now since I don't have a studio.
Oh, right. I guess if you have to.
Just depends on the week. I mean, I don't know. I'll get out there when I can. And so sometimes it's like, 30 hours a week, and sometimes it's like 2. So it just depends, I guess. You need to be close enough to check on the drying stuff. And just make sure that nothing's cracking or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I wish I had a really good answer. I don't. Just when I can.
That's a good answer.
Okay.
It's life balance, which
Yes.
no one has figured out.
I have no life balance.
Is there an ideal temperature for when you're drying?
No, I think probably you just, like I said, you just want it to be slow. And one thing that Ann Mossman said that I found very interesting is that it's not, like I said earlier, it's not drying slowly just for the sake of drying slowly. You're drying slowly so that all of the moisture can equalize all over. And at that point, once it's dried really slowly for a week, she'll take something that's still wet and put it in her kiln and dry it in like 6 hours. Because at that point, all the clay, they're all gonna be at the same speed. And so they can dry as quickly as that, which I thought was amazing. And I tried it and it worked. You just have to make sure that you're very careful about making all the moisture even.
At what temperature?
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that. I don't have it in my head. But
That's a cool idea.
yeah, it's just, it's something where it's over boiling, but not by much. Okay, so now I have the kind of chunky thing. And to make it smaller, you just kind of have to squish, squish, squish. And ask it to be smaller. Nice. All right, so now I can combine these and make some other pattern. I could make it a square now. I'm really sick of circles. Now I'm going to make it into a square. Like that. Oh, but what if I wanted to do this other thing? There's always something to do. So anyway, time for one more cool thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Do y'all want to learn how to make gradient?
Sure.
There's a couple of ways to do it. Way number 1 is quick and easy. Quick and tedious, but not quite as tedious as the other way. Chris Campbell does it this way, and it's a Skinner blend. It's like the same way that they combine stuff on those pasta rollers. You can do that on a slab roller. So you draw out the pattern that you want, and you so this is it. Here's some chartreuse. And I want to combine it with super foggy. That's gross. Okay, we'll just do this. Okay, so Skinner blend is, oh, I wish I had like somewhere with a piece of paper. I can do it on a piece of clay. So here, I'll draw it out on a piece of clay. Here's my piece of paper, and I'm gonna plan with colors, right? And I want it to go from green to blue to white to pink. So each one of those has a combination. I'm gonna leave a little at the edges for white. I'm gonna, I'll just draw it. And we'll label it and then we'll connect it. So what do I say? This is white. Green. What's next? Green, blue. Brown. Purple.
You said pink.
Pink, purple. Sure, instead of purple. And then we're gonna go to find some purple. And then we're gonna go to brown. So I'm not gonna do this tonight because it would take too long, but I'll show you how to do it. So, here's the piece of paper. So I've drawn triangles, and the triangles are where the colors combine. You can, if you want more purple, you just, instead of being a triangle, you make it whatever shape that is. Yeah.
Easy.
That, yeah. Yeah. So then the other thing is when you're doing it on the slab roller, you need to always do it the same way. Because if not, it just turns too much. So I'm rolling it through that way, right? And then it comes out the other end and I bring it back over here and I fold it. And I run it through again. And I bring it back over here and fold it and run it through again. And that way it works. The other way it doesn't. The more meditative, less strenuous way, if you're like watching TV and you want something to do, is you have your brown and you have your white, right? And I want to do a gradient between those two. So I get out my scale and I weigh 20 grams of each. Then I weigh 10 grams of each. Then I go 15 grams of one and 5 of the other. And then I do the same thing over here. And then I do like 12 and 8. And you know, like, and so I'll set it up and then you just mix it together. And then once you have that, and I'm not, again, I can't do this, but you can do it however you want. Curtis Bensley like rolled it and was really careful. I just got a circle cutter and just cut circles, and then you stack them on top of each other and then roll them out. And I have one that I can show you that I made last night. It's also a really, I brought some of the clay that I was talking about, the Bensley clay, which is more silica and less clay. And it feels so weird. It's like almost like oobleck or something, you know, that cornstarch slurry stuff. It's so cool. But this is such a difficult, there it is, a difficult clay to work with. I use it just for like earrings and hiding on dishes and stuff. It cracks really easily. It's hard to work with, but it's gorgeous. Beautiful. Okay, so Here's one. Like a rainbow.
Should I pass it?
Yeah. I'll have it.
So it's like mush.
Yeah,
It's mushy.
it's super mushy. But once you have that gradient, you can make a paint that the gradient goes from red, you know, to violet or whatever. And you can cut a slice of each and do something cool like that and have a gradient like that. Or you can flip it the other way and make like a rainbow, you know, so you have it going in circle, you could roll it out and then roll that, and then you'll have like a circle rainbow. Yeah, there's just kind of this endless stuff you can do. It looks like with this, so you have like a flat piece, so it's red on the bottom and violet on the top. So then I can slice that and do all kinds of stuff and combine it and make it into, I don't know, this one. I think I was trying to do something, I don't know. I just kind of made it sort of a rainbow shape, but not really. Yeah. Oh, cool. And then this one, maybe it's that one. So this one is done the other way.
What kind of clay is that again?
This is like a Bentley, like the guy made up this thing and I took the class, and so it's his like proprietary blend of like a lot of glass and not finished clay. So this is where it's just stacked.
Does that for the clarity, the light scope?
Yeah. And again, it's such a bizarre feeling. And it's so, it can be really frustrating, but also like it's kind of cool. The way it moves and it's kind of like.
Did you ever make fresh mozzarella before they stretch?
Oh, yeah. So it's just again, it's southbound, it's south longer. What is it, five? Yeah, it's code 5.6. But definitely this needs to be supported. Like you can't, it would just melt into a flat cuddle. It cracks all the time. Like it's pretty frustrating to try to do big pieces with it. It has a dry really slow. It doesn't combine at all really well. Like it's all basically like you kind of have to squish it together and hope that it, you know, figured it out how to combine. And then he does this thing where he'll do his whole design and then press it down with the rolling pin, and then he'll get his slip. He has all different colors of slip, and he'll do like, I don't know, 5 or 6 coats. He'll like do a coat of slip, dry, and then do another one. And so he'll build up this huge, you know, this lots of slip on both sides. And then he does this thing with this, the stuff that goes on the bottom of toddlers' pajamas to keep them slipping on the floor. They're like little rubber nubs. And he lays that over finally once he's got all the slip on there and rolls it in. So he's got just a tiny bit of texture. Then he gets the black slip or another colored slip, puts that on and then scrapes it off. So then he gets like polka dots. It's just it's astonishing process that's made that into, but it's beautiful, beautiful work. So I guess that's all I have, and you're welcome to come up here and play if you want, and feel on the clay or do something. One other thing I forgot, I was going to show y'all how to just, you know, everyone knows how to build on these, right? I mean, the plaster, you just like have your thing and put it on there and then it dries and you pop it off, right? All right, so that's it.
Saskia, you said you wouldn't use this for larger pieces.
I wouldn't, you could, I just don't, I guess, maybe.
You made it thicker, it would hold.
No, it's not so much the thickness as there's a lot of weak spots. There's a lot of places it can fall apart. And the larger the piece, I think the more likely it is that just the weight of the piece itself will pull it apart. But people do it all the time. I just haven't done it. Oh my gosh, y'all, I'm not an expert. I've just taken some classes and had some fun. So, you know, do whatever you want. Build a big piece and see what happens. I don't know. You can always do the, you know, the kintsugi or whatever, you know, if it cracks, then you fill it in with epoxy and cover it with gold leaf. So all kinds of beautiful stuff. But yeah, it's not, it's the clay changes in texture and it has a little less strength. But again, if you want to try to work with a clay that has a lot of grog in it, that's fine too. I just use porcelain because I just do, you know, because it has a really nice clarity of color at the end of the day. So, anything else? Any
Yeah.
other- Yeah, if y'all have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. You know.
If you want to see your work in person, it's art for the people.
Art for the People has a few of my pieces. I don't know how many more they have
Okay.
because I haven't had a studio. So I,
But even one piece. would be
Yes.
cool To see it finished, yeah.
and the Flame Point Art is my Instagram handle.
Okay.
To see some of my pieces. It's mainly, you know, I've been making rain dishes and little sushi trays and stuff like that. But no, it's just so much fun to play around with. It's, you know, like sometimes getting on a wheel feels like such a, oh, you know, it's a wheel and you have to get dirty. And this, you can like sit in front of the TV because it's so tiny and fiddly and you just, I want to make a cane. And then 18 hours later, you have to like, come inside. I do get carried away, but yeah, so y'all